Good morning, everybody. Today in this video, we are going to get an introduction to All My Sons, written by Arthur Miller. Miller, 1915 to 2005, as we know, is an American playwright and essayist in the 20th century. Among his most popular plays are All My Sons, published in 1947, Death of a Salesman, published in 1949, The Crucible, 1953, and A View from the Bridge, 1955. He wrote several screenplays and was most noted for his work on The Misfits that came out in 1961. The drama Death of the Salesman has been numbered on the short list of the finest American plays in the 20th century. It is difficult to underestimate the importance of the Great Depression and the Second World War on the work of Arthur Miller and his contemporaries. Even when Miller's plays don't specifically focus on the political woes of his age, the time that is immediately following the World War II, they are infused with the political realities, the complexities of American power, which dominated popular discussion at the time. The Second World War elevated the US out of a crippling and decade long financial depression. It put millions back to work and it mobilized American production in the service of a clear and for many indomitable cause, that is, the march of democracy against fascism as represented by the governments of Germany, Italy, and Japan. After the conclusion of the war, however, American GIs returned home, became educated, started families, and found themselves confronting to a moral universe that was no longer so simple, so black and white, as that of the war in which they had been fighting. Miller concerned himself with the mindset of the American family man and woman, those whose job was to provide materially for their families, but who often found that life was more difficult than the mere accumulation of wealth. All My Sons, like many of Miller's plays, is an attempt to sift through the values common to American families after the Second World War in order to determine what the good life truly meant in an age of rising economic circumstances. There are a number of other books that are related to All My Sons. Arthur Miller wrote All My Sons during a flourishing period of American drama, with many playwrights breathing new life into the theatrical models of Greek tragedy and dramatic realism of Anton Chekhov. We have Thornton Wilder, as he writes in Our Town. We have Eugene O'Neill, active from 1920s to the 50s. We also have Eugene O'Neill talking about Morning Becomes Electra, The Iceman Cometh, Long Day's Journey into Night, and later an account of addiction and family tensions, which was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1958. The third interesting dramatist of the age is Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams' work in the period was also prominent, especially through his Glass Menagerie, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and A Streetcar Named Desire, the last of which was made into a feature film with Marlon Brando and is considered as a classic of the 20th century American realist drama. To a greater extent, in O'Neill and Tennessee Williams, the tragedies, large and small, of contemporary American life in the first half of the 20th century became the stuff of the theatrical drama. All My Sons is a play by Arthur Miller that is first produced in 1947. The play is based on the true story of a manufacturing conspiracy during the World War II. All My Sons is set several years after the conviction of Steve Deaver and Joe Keller. These are the two interesting characters from the play. Today, in this video, let us get ourselves acquainted with them. These two characters, Steve Deaver and the exoneration of his partner, Joe Keller after their factory's defective military use aircraft parts results in several deaths. In fact, Arthur Miller has come out with the first play, which is titled as The Man Who Had All the Luck, which was a flop. He has written this play, All My Sons, as a second play in 1946 and 47, and decided that if this too goes as a flop, he will stop writing dramas. But instantly, All My Sons, which is based on World War II period, which has come out in 1947, has run on the Cornet Theatre from 29th January in 1947 successfully for 2 years continuously. And it was commercially a super hit drama that has changed Arthur Miller's life. The drama has suspense, love, hatred, patriotism, jealousy, and selfish motives. Let us get ourselves acquainted with the characters. The entire drama begins at the backyard of the Keller residence. Approximately, the Keller residence is the picture that you could see on the slide. It's a luxurious and palatial bungalow sort of thing in a small American town. The name of the American town is purposefully not mentioned in order to say that the entire America symbolically resembles this. So the entire drama takes place in the backyard of Color residence. As you could see, the house is in front and it has got a garden, and the drama takes place within the garden. All the three acts take place within the garden. Let us get ourselves acquainted with the characters. The first of all the characters is the Keller family. This is where exactly the drama takes place. And the head of the family is Joe Keller. He is around 60 years and he is seen reading as a newspaper in his garden and is introduced to us in the beginning. Then the second that you could see in the picture in the slide is Kate Keller. Kate Keller is Joe Keller's wife who sits beside him in the garden and thinks about their sons. Joe Keller and Kate Keller have two sons. One is Larry Keller, the second is Chris Keller, as you could see in the slide. Both of them have participated in the Second World War on behalf of America. But 3 years back, when the war ended, Chris Keller comes back, whereas Larry Keller doesn't come. And both fought in the Second World War, but Larry is included in the list of lost soldiers 3 years ago. Of all the people, it is his mother, Kate Keller, who believes that he is still alive and would definitely come back. The second family in the drama is Deaver family. Deaver family has got the father figure who is Steve Deaver, who happens to be the partner along with Joe Keller in their manufacturing factory that manufactures the aeroplanes, especially the fighter plane engines, and supplies it to the American aircraft. Steve Deaver has got two children. One is Ann Deaver, who is his daughter. Ann Deaver is engaged to Larry. But because Larry doesn't return for the past 3 years, she's still waiting for him along with Kate. But in the meanwhile, a sort of Chris calls on Anne and in his counseling on her to come out of her sad feeling and depression. In fact, Anne and Chris become very close to each other and get connected emotionally. When the story begins, Chris calls uh, Anne Deaver to Keller residence, and Anne Deaver stays in New York. But after he has called, after his disappearance of um, Larry Keller, Chris supports Anne, and in these 3 years, Chris and Anne are emotionally attached. Chris wanted actually to propose Anne in the beginning of the drama, and hence calls Anne to his house to introduce Anne as his beloved to his parents, both Joe Keller and Kate Keller. Steve Deaver has got a son also, who is George Deaver, And both Chris and Anne had a doubt whether Kate Keller would understand their love and accept them because she believes that Larry is alive and also looks at Anne as Larry's fiance. Anne Deaver's father is Steve Deaver. Chris and Larry's father is Joe Deaver. Both Joe and Steve are partners of the manufacturing unit that would manufacture the fighter plane engines used in the World War II. Actually, when the story begins, Steve uses defective parts in those engines, and hence 21 Air Force pilots die due to the plane crash. And hence, their factory is closed, and a court suit is filed against them. And Steve ascertains that he was compelled to use the parts in the engine by Joe Keller. But Joe Keller gives an alibi in the court that he was unwell that day and hence could not take the decision at all. So Steve Deaver is sentenced to jail and Joe Keller is released. Steve Deaver takes an oath never to forgive Joe, though. Now, Anne has a brother, as you could see in the slide, George Deaver. George Deaver is a lawyer and he meets his father in the prison in the middle of the story and comes to the Keller residence to meet his sister. And at the Keller residence, they talk, and he comes to know that Anne is deeply associated emotionally with Chris Keller and intends to marry him, which is not liked by George Deaver and also Steve Deaver. So the story rotates around these two families. The minor characters that we have are the Luby family. Luby family has got Frank Luby and Lydia Luby, the wife and the husband. Frank Luby is 33-year-old who makes Kate believe that Larry would definitely come back. They are in fact the neighbors of the Keller family and every now and then frequently Frank and Lydia would come to their house and it is Frank in fact who keeps on ascertaining with his positive note and his belief in astrology that um, Deaver would Larry Keller will definitely come down, and he in fact marries Lydia Lube, and Lydia Lube happens to be the girlfriend of George Deaver, who is none other than the brother of Anne Deaver. But because George Deaver has gone to participate in the World War II, Lydia leaves him, and Frank Lube misses to participate in the war because of his age. He's slightly overaged with a few months, according to the rules, to join the American army. And so he's released. And Lydia and Frank are happy couple. This is the only happy couple that we have in the entire drama. Now, Lydia Lube, she's 27-year-old. Actually, she is George's beloved, but marries Frank after George joins the army in the World War II. The other two characters are the Bayliss family. Dr. Jim Bayliss happens to be a successful lawyer, but not happy with his life and marriage, but is a very close friend of Keller family. In fact, the drama begins with the interaction of Dr. Jim with Joe Keller. And it is Jim who monitors the health of Joe Keller also. Sue Bayliss is his wife, Dr. Jim's wife, and close to the Keller family, but she is at a time dangerous and a little resentful towards Keller family because she always started feeling that Chris influences Jim, which she doesn't like. So these are the characters that we could find in the drama. In the next video, we shall start with the first act. Thank you very much and bye for now.